Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We'll start. Hopefully, people will come. And my name is Arun Ramamurthy. I am with East Asia Department, involved in projects in ICT and innovation projects in China and Mongolia. Today, we have two speakers from the State University of New York, Korea, and they will be talking about the application of digital technologies in solving some social problems and also creating innovative, good job type of activities in their work related to these activities in Korea. The first speaker is Dr. Mark Whitaker. Dr. Mark is a sociologist and assistant professor at Stony Brook University, SUNY Korea. He focuses on environment, technology, and social interactions. In today's presentation, he will be talking about the use of mobile phone technology in terms of managing the ecology related to materials management. He called this as commodity ecology. Probably he will be talking about the definitions of what is commodity ecology means and what are the solutions that are available using this mobile phone media. The second presenter is Dr. Chimo C. He is a research professor of entrepreneurship and founding director of Center for Global Entrepreneurship at SUNY Korea. He will be talking about his institute's initiatives related to fostering innovation ecosystem in Korea, what they are doing and how they are coaching, mentoring students in the SUNY University, as well as how they are contributing to the SOUL's objective of creating an innovative economy and knowledge-based economy in Korea. So without taking much of the time, I will ask now Dr. Whitaker to talk about his presentation on commodity ecology, followed by Dr. Shima.
Thank you for your interest. I'm Professor Mark Whitaker. As you said, at SUNY Korea, my interest in environment, society, and technology interactions. I have three examples for future sustainable world based on my applied research. This is an example of ICT 4D, or information communication technology for sustainable development. I will only be talking about one that has a prototype called Commodity Ecology right now, and what it is. To summarize my talk very quickly, there's 2 points. One, I would suggest we add 3 rubrics to the Sustainable Development Goals to be more effective. These are implementations of the existing goals, and I will offer solutions for doing this. The 3 levels that I think of rubrics that should be added to the abstract Sustainable Development Goals that they lack for a better encouragement for them. One, to get clear about a more disaggregated geography. The Sustainable Development Goals are basically nation-state oriented. When in 2015 they were authorized from the previous Millennium Development Goals, there was an agreement that nations would determine exactly how they would measure and roll out those particular forms of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. I think we need a far more disaggregated geography, and I will suggest watersheds and ecoregions. I'll come to that. The second thing, I think we need more material clarity about disaggregated materials. And for about 20 years, I've been putting together a list of what are the social uses of materials that we use. And it's achieved at about 130 material categories at this point. So once you have a disaggregated geography, within each of those disaggregated geographies, you can have a discussion about disaggregated materials. But how do you do that? How do you reach disaggregated people in our world of over 7 billion? Right now, over 5 billion of them have a mobile phone. So I'm suggesting that a mobile application or a mobile accessible application will cheaply and effectively reach people. We're already nearing about 45% of the entire world comfortable with using social media as of 2019. There's, as I said, over 5 billion mobile phones, about 2.5 or 3.3 billion smartphones, depending on who you ask. But nonetheless, my 3 mobile app ideas achieve this. The one that I'll talk about today is a prototype that's being developed. And I'm seeking your inputs and aid and relationships that may be interesting for everyone. But anyway, 2 sections of my review, an abbreviated educational background, which has already been discussed, I believe, but environment, technology, and society interactions. I've been in Korea since 2007. and won both US National Science Foundation Awards and Korean National Science Foundation Awards for some of my research. The theoretical and empirical point is now there are global network effects from mobile phones in rich and poor countries alike. A lot of people talk about a digital divide, and a digital divide of course exists. But ironically, with mobile technologies, the highest of the most advanced technologies we have, there's increasing digital equality or digital parity existing. I would even say a digital surplus. And by digital surplus, I mean groups that historically are marginalized, like female population, ethnic minorities, from ongoing national development strategies, are easily integrated. And statistics show that they are equal participants upon platforms. So we're developing platforms that have an astounding array of cross-collaborative two-way communication now that are not denied by the basis of gender, class, or previous ethnic exclusion. The point is, if we make a platform for rolling out the Sustainable Development Goals, it's much easier. And from the applied knowledge point, there's a network effect. The idea is to create the following in 3 mobile apps. The first one of 3, Commodity Ecology, the database. This is the prototype is now in process at our University of SUNY Korea. It's the United Nations recognized idea of a rubric for a modular, multi-regional, worldwide sustainable development based on watersheds and 130 commodity categories and how they interact. This has been sponsored by the United Nations Academic Impact, and we visited the United Nations Secretariat with Dr. Se last month, actually. I will not be talking about number 2 or number 3, given the time limitations, but this is a gamification for youth, for commodity ecology, of how you can make it a game to be a sustainable society and encourage youth education on that. The other one, as a civic democratic institution, ideas for recognizing more non-governmental, less politically partisan heroes in each region of the world, also through a mobile application. Just a quick abbreviated theoretical point, 3 M names, Moore, Metcalfe, and McGuire. You've probably heard of Moore before. This is Moore's Law, Gordon Moore. It's the idea from the beginning of the 1970s with miniaturization of technology that within a particular chip, it was expected from the early 70s as an anticipation that people could pack twice the number of transistors in a given space, and that would double every 2 years. And that is remarkably held true for about 40 years. It's only slightly gone down. So in other words, we're getting more and more distributed computing power. And that leads to Metcalfe. Metcalfe is, there's a network value to a lot of the products that we're developing now. The value doesn't simply come from your mobile phone. The value comes from the fact that it's part of a larger network. If you buy a fax machine and you're the only person in the world with a fax machine, it's not useful. 100,000 fax machines are very useful. So you're really buying the service of a network. And McGuire tops that off by saying there's a greater value of more mobile services versus more stable services. Things you can carry with you tend to be preferred. And the idea would be to create a mobile platform using network value to roll out the Sustainable Development Goals. And all of these chips are allowing for greater mobility and cheapness, and this allows for the network value to be generated once everybody has that, and then it's increasingly mobile, And when that's applied to the SDGs, the development is more efficiently implemented when it employs a network value and when it takes advantage of a mobile network service. Why? Because people don't network once. You build a successful network in their lives, and different kinds of services can be applied to that trusted network. US and global data, just to introduce you where we are. In United States data from 2015, smartphones are the fastest adopted technology in world history for the United States. If you notice, the telephone took 66 years to achieve maybe 35%, even in the United States. But once that was achieved, that network value made it very easy to develop the internet off that. And so we've got an increasingly speedy development around the world. And the smartphone itself has taken about 6 or 7 years to reach 70% saturation in the United States. But what about the rest of the world? If this is the world here at 100, near 100 per capita, this is from the same year, the World Bank data. Over here it says mobile cellular subscriptions per 100 people. The usual suspects are above the 100 line. It says Germany, United States, Europe, Australia, but surprisingly, Russian Federation, Thailand, places you wouldn't necessarily associate with massive levels of digital technologies, nonetheless come up very high. So my point of digital equality, even less developed countries are leapfrogging ahead And we could make one platform for the entire world could debate and share good ideas for sustainable development. Some global statistics of mobile networks in 2019, from January 2019, if there's about 7.7 billion people, notice the most hegemonic technology is not the internet, it is actually the mobile phone. We're 5 billion mobile phones as of this year, but also in Africa, surprisingly, over 1 billion mobile phones, excess of 80% of the population, if at 1.3 billion. And India, about the same general relation as Africa in population, but nonetheless, India expected of this year 87% of its population versus 41%, double the amount of access. So you make a good application on a mobile phone, and you have a much more efficient way to roll out sustainable development goals. The point is, if you want to roll out the SDGs, nothing makes more sense for human equal access at this point than a mobile platform. And the prototype is this. Commodity ecology, as I said, recognized by the United Nations as a good sustainable development goal practice. This is a chart. I have a sheet that I can pass out to you later, but it's hard to see this, I realize, but that's 130 different historically invented social uses of commodities. And the earth is in the middle because the point is, once you have a particular level of chart, you can learn how to integrate all of these things in particular zones. The point is, United Nations Academic Impact Office featured this as a good method towards sustainable development goals and practice. For getting specific, about 130 material technical categories. It was made head of the list in Sustainable Development Goal 12. Here's the websites if you're curious about that. But the prototype of this is being developed now as a database platform for commodity ecology at our school. And the rubrics comprise a set of 130 different material technical categories and a model of how they interact in particular regions. These allow us to consider 3 interrelated questions, aided by this real and virtual community online using the service. The point is, once a checklist of the materials exists, 3 questions can be asked for sustainability. The first one, do we have enough plural sustainable choices available in this category yet? Instead of just abstract goals about sustainability, it's very clear whether you have this or not. And once you have that, you can ask, are we choosing well in a particular category towards sustainability yet in this particular region, in that particular material? And once you have that, how can we help local consumers, producers, and the environment at the same time? By linking categories, by understanding what products or wastes in one commodity category can be productively used in other categories, encouraging producer-consumer partnerships around the world. And this is less abstract and less interpretive than the Sustainable Development Goals. You either have sustainable options in these categories or you lack them. There's nothing interpretive about it. And you either link waste streams of these various industries together, or you lack ideas for it. This is very simple. It's a rubric and ongoing checklist for sustainability, unlike the abstract Sustainable Development Goals. But my interest is in aiding the Sustainable Development Goals, because my argument, you will achieve many other Sustainable Development Goals simply through building this commodity ecology. All these rubrics of social life are improved once we build a more sustainable regional material interaction in all things. There's a multiplier effects of first building a more representative commodity ecology. Thus, help me build commodity ecology and mobile app platforms as prototypes, and we achieve SDG participation at less cost with wider reach than other separated SDG programs. I've already talked about disaggregated phones and how you access 5 billion people. I talked about disaggregated materials, and the third point, disaggregated regions. These are the suggestions. The first one is a watershed. It's an abstract idea that you could map the entire world based on where water falls to a point. And so here's just a one United States map about that. But notice that a lot of borders in our world are artificial, between the United States and Canada, for instance. This is from Grasshopper Geography. The first world map was started just last year dealing with global watersheds, and the difference between Canada and the United States doesn't exist. And why do I stress watersheds? For 2 reasons. One, it's actually a way to deal with the massive pollution that most countries deal with at borders. And typically border populations are marginalized regardless of what nation state you're talking about. So watersheds innately is a rubric that encourages cross-border collaboration. That's the first point. It also encourages more marginalized populations that typically aren't integrated into such frameworks. 2 minutes, thank you. This is a picture from the app that we're designing right now. This is the other idea, beyond watersheds or ecoregions. There have been ecoregion maps only since the 1980s. There are 867 ecoregions right now, and they're only altered by vast cataclysms like you know, climate change or earthquakes and things like that. But the point is the app will guide people into particular zones. Say you're holding a mobile phone in this particular region of Korea, it will notice where you are and encourage you to go to that particular commodity ecology wheel for your zone, and it will introduce you to people in your zone who are also interested in doing that. So it's an introduction service for people interested in sustainability. This is another chart, a prototype chart of what the wheel looks like with different levels of topics across 130 different kinds of commodities. And the last slide I have here, why network mobile development is the best bang for the development buck. Are we living through a mobile revolution? I think we are. That this is particularly useful for weaker dominated states or corrupt states. It's merging online community development, environmental justice movements, mobile network culture, and participatory rural appraisal techniques. So a grassroots command economy is kind of developing with a lot more digital parity and surplus than before, instead of a digital divide. The point is, there's more bang for this buck since many corrupt and or weak states are without capacity to create expensive infrastructures for their own roads, schools, or industries and banks, much less education for the SDGs. So once you build a platform, it's instantly accessible to the entire world. Also, as a globally even saturated market, they're a greater crucial part in developing and less developed countries. They're a shared platform for social economic development. And charts of the world show the mobile phone is seen as the most important device, except, of course, in North America and Europe that still believe the mobile phone is not that important. But if I was to say anything, there's a developed world bias that keeps many in the development trade from realizing the deep importance of mobile networks of phones for creating social services in developing countries that poor states lack. And typically mobile networks are their first stable developmental infrastructure. In conclusion, the best bang for the buck for SDGs is to fund networkable mobile app platforms for development. Commodity ecology is a globally modular idea that fits across all watersheds and ecoregions of the world. Each mobile app would network people in various actual geographies for their own sustainable designs as they learn to be sustainable one watershed at a time. And there's just a picture of our very international team, and of course we would be delighted if you were ever interested in coming to visit us in Songdo in Korea. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these two interesting presentations. One on the material ecology management using the mobile phone applications. The second one is about the innovation ecosystem in Korea. These are very topical interests to ADB. We are doing in East Asia, particularly, we are doing projects involving these two aspects. In the interest of time, I would like to restrict 3 questions from the audience so that the experts will be able to give some clarity on their questions. The floor is open for questions.
Good afternoon, thank you, Arun. I have a question regarding the first presentation, the link between the phone application and the watershed. If you could develop a little bit more on that, I'm not sure I really capture everything on how is it used more in detail. Thank you very much. But it's a very interesting presentation.
Okay, thank you for your comments and your question as well. How is the watershed chosen as the particular rubric you're saying?
Yeah, and how is the map used in relation with the mobile application?
Okay. Okay, good point. The point is that when someone visits the website with a mobile phone or with their desktop, there is an option that a browser or a phone actually can use a GPS satellite network to tell where you are. And that information can be integrated into the data set to therefore recommend particular locations. There are API, which is the computer term for a particular application interface that has been created already for all of the world's ecoregions. So we've chosen in the prototype to develop ecoregions. There's 867 of those. And so literally the entire world is mapped out. What we're looking for is also a watershed-based version of an API which doesn't exist yet. I imagine that would take a long time to vector in all watersheds of the world to make a map like that. Watersheds are much more fine-grained, much more nested, but ecoregions at least have if watersheds are based on water, ecoregions are based on particular unique soil types that are in someone's judgment are make it an important differentiation from its neighbor in another ecoregion. Also different invasive, particular species are what define an ecoregion as well. So if you were going to be interested in sustainable development in a particular region, you better know exactly what is the difference in soil types there. You can't just roll out a particular abstract idea of commodities and interaction. You need to know some particular environmental impact assessment of that location. And so this encourages people to understand and to create a conscientization, Paulo Freire term, conscientization of a particular regionality to everyone and where we live. Is that clear? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any more question?
Can you speak briefly about examples of examples you may think are more realistic, perhaps, for connecting waste streams to users that you see in a foreseeable time frame?
Foreseeable time frame as in within. Well, I think the point is, I would prefer to frame, do we want to have a durable culture with an interest in sustainability? That's what this is sort of designing. And a short rollout won't necessarily create a culture that durably will hold something long after a particular program has created. So I guess I would stress the fact that this creates sort of a systemic interest forever in all regions of the world for people to take over when the next generation dies or the next generation gets tired of it. There's always this ongoing learning of a particular zone. So I honestly don't see it as having such a short-run benchmark of will this be achieved in 5 or 10 years. It's a sort of an added systemic power structure that most nations don't even consult these particular fine-grained regional differentiations. Is that clear? Or am I missing your point, though? Okay.
I think from a practical perspective, in terms of incorporating it into projects, intergenerational is a nice goal, but it isn't something that will give bragging rights soon enough, or that will justify investment. And I'm just thinking in terms perhaps of pacing. Are there short-term measurables that lead to this intergenerational mind shift?
I would suggest, it's called the 4 Fs: food, fuel, fodder, and fiber. Those, if you have programs which would start on basic commodities of those, you might start out with a smaller assortment of 130. Plus, not every region in the world wants to make 130 choices. But the point is, it starts a discussion of which particular things are most important to those groups. So the point is, I say, it's like a rapid rural appraisal. It's an environmental impact assessment and rapid rural appraisal at the same time, where it encourages people to discuss what are their priorities in a particular zone. And I would hope that they would come up with what are their short-term goals and not some external agency. An external agency could facilitate the entire process. An external agency could provide the web server, could provide ongoing access through technology. But the fact that there's already 5 billion mobile phones out there, and we're already reaching about 50% of the world in familiarity with social media. 10 years, basically, I think people will be calling for this. There are already massive upsurges of what's called blessed unrest by David Corton's book. The fact that there's a massive global uprising on sustainable development issues, but they don't have a way of really just talking across each other. And this provides a way to learn from different regions instead of exclusively make sustainability here without knowledge of how to apply it elsewhere.
Thank you. In the interest of time, we have to close it. Basically, the first concept is about creating a social media type of an application for ecology related activities, which is also topical for ADB's focus on climate change and mitigation measures. And the second topic is also very, very important for us. We are doing a lot of programs and projects in East Asia, Central East Asia, and Southeast Asia related to bringing up innovation and the ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem. The two experts are available for today and tomorrow. If you want to contact them, you can contact through Danny, the organizer for this session. And you will also be receiving these presentation as well as a feedback form requesting you to rate the presentation today. So please do the rating as well. Thank you very much for your time and attention.